Welcome to Defense Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: era of total U.S. submarine dominance over China is ending. Taiwan contender to name former envoy to U.S. as running mate. Don't cry for Miley Eyes Argentina. Australia's PM says China ties damaged by Navy divers incident. Never going back. Israelis evacuated from border town with Lebanon fear war with Hezbollah. Era of total U.S. submarine dominance over China is ending. Wall Street Journal. China's advances in submarine technology and undersea detection capabilities are narrowing the gap with the U.S. military. Satellite imagery showed China's first nuclear-powered attack submarine with noise-reducing technology similar to that used on the latest American submarines. China also has been expanding its underwater sensor networks, giving it the ability to detect enemy submarines more effectively. This has major implications for American military planning for a potential conflict over Taiwan. The Western Pacific is becoming more treacherous for U.S. submarines due to China's underwater sensor networks, patrol aircraft, and helicopters that can pick up sonar information from buoys in the sea. China has also conducted submarine hunting exercises in the South China Sea and the Bering Sea, indicating its growing capability in this area. The U.S. Navy and its attack submarines in the Asia-Pacific region are primarily responsible for keeping track of these Chinese submarines. The U.S. is facing a shortfall in its own submarine fleet, with the Navy needing 66 nuclear-powered attack submarines to meet global missions. The U.S. currently has 67 nuclear-powered submarines, but only 49 of those are attack submarines. China, on the other hand, currently has 6 nuclear-powered attack submarines, with the Pentagon forecasting that China will have a total fleet of 80 attack and ballistic missile submarines by 2035. This has led to the U.S. needing new strategies and resources such as patrol aircraft and attack submarines to locate, track, and potentially target a new generation of quieter Chinese submarines. Taiwan contender to name former envoy to U.S. as running mate. Bloomberg. The frontrunner in Taiwan's presidential race has announced that he will name the island's former envoy to the U.S. as his running mate, indicating a desire to strengthen ties with Washington if elected. The nominee, Siao Bai Kim, would be the second woman to serve as vice president of Taiwan if the ticket wins the election on January 13 next year. The announcement highlights Taiwan's soft power edge over Beijing and its inclusive democratic system. The frontrunner, Vice President Lai Ching-te, has been leading in polls for much of the year, with his closest competitor being Ho Yuih of the Kuomintang. Additionally, Foxconn Technology Group's founder Terry Gou was picked by 5% of respondents in a recent poll. Lai is best known to Taiwanese audiences as a singer and for his role in a political drama credited with triggering the #MeToo movement in Taiwan. Don't cry for Miley Eyes Argentina. Bloomberg. Javier Milei has won the presidential election in Argentina, with his opponent Sergio Massa conceding before any votes were even published. Milei is an anarcho-capitalist who wants to abolish the central bank and do away with the country's currency. He represents change and an ambition to make things better, and he has been given the opportunity to do so by the Argentine people. Milei recognizes the critical condition of Argentina's economy and has declared that there is no room for gradual measures. His victory represents a big experiment in libertarian economics, with the Argentine people willing to be the guinea pigs. Argentina's economy has been plagued by the question of its exchange rate for a generation. The country has experienced sharp devaluations and various attempts to stabilize its currency, with no lasting success. Milei's victory represents a new opportunity for change in Argentina, with a focus on dollarization and libertarian economics. However, there are doubts about his ability to put his plans into action, and it remains to be seen how his policies will affect the country's economy. In addition to the political developments in Argentina, the fall in the price of oil has been a surprising development. Despite geopolitical shocks and attempts to limit production, the price of oil has reversed and is now back to where it was 2 years ago. Real-world supply and demand continue to dominate over short-term geopolitical events, and the oil price relative to gold may be a vital guide to the economy's future. Additionally, there is excitement around gold, as falling yields could make it more attractive. Overall, there are mixed signals in the commodities market, and the future remains uncertain. Australia's PM says China ties damaged by Navy divers incident. Bloomberg. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese expressed strong objections to China after a Chinese destroyer disregarded warnings and injured an Australian Navy diver with sonar pulses. The incident occurred inside Japan's exclusive economic zone, prompting criticism from Australia's opposition coalition. Albanese denied prioritising photo opportunities with President Xi Jinping over protecting Australia's national interests. He emphasized that the event should not have occurred and stated that Australia has made its objections clear to China. The incident occurred while the Australian vessel was enforcing sanctions against North Korea during a regional presence deployment. Never going back. Israelis evacuated from border town with Lebanon fear war with Hezbollah. CNN. Tiberias, a city in Israel known for its religious significance, is experiencing an unexpected influx of evacuees from communities near the Lebanese border due to the conflict between Israel and Lebanon-based militants. The evacuation, described as the largest movement of Israelis in decades, has left many residents uncertain about their future. With the fear of a potential confrontation with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, the evacuated residents express reluctance to return to their homes. The mayor of Tiberias estimates that over 10,000 people have sought refuge in the city, causing a strain on the local tourism industry. There is a growing concern about the safety and stability of the region, with some evacuees questioning the possibility of ever returning home. The article highlights the impact of the conflict on the lives and livelihoods of those affected, as well as the ongoing geopolitical tensions in the region. In Cold War II, the U.S. risks playing the Soviet role. Bloomberg. At the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, the meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden raised the question of whether the U.S. is in decline and China is on the rise, going against the conventional wisdom that the U.S. is economically stronger than China. The summit was marked by automobile one-upmanship and the exchange of pandas, reminiscent of the Cold War superpower summits. The meeting between Xi and Biden, much like the Détente Summit of 1973, covered peripheral issues rather than substantial topics such as nuclear arms control or peace in the Middle East. The Chinese readout called on the U.S. to show in concrete actions that it does not support Taiwan's independence, illustrating the significant issues left unaddressed at the summit, resulting in détente light. China's slowing economic growth, over-reliance on fixed asset investment, and diminishing returns from debt accumulation have led to a weakened state of many Chinese banks, making a financial crisis a serious risk. On the other hand, China has become the workshop of the world, producing a significant portion of the world's essential products, making the talk of decoupling economies unrealistic. The U.S., on closer inspection, appears to be heading towards a late Soviet America, with a growing federal deficit, aging leadership, and public dissatisfaction with economic performance. Overall, the article explores the shifting dynamics of the U.S.-China relationship, with implications for the global power balance and potential geopolitical conflict over Taiwan. Philippines eyes own South China Sea Code of Conduct with Malaysia, Vietnam. South China Morning Post. The Philippines is seeking to discuss a separate code of conduct regarding the South China Sea with neighboring countries like Malaysia and Vietnam, due to limited progress in reaching a broader regional pact with China. President Marcos Jr. expressed concerns about China's aggressive behavior in the South China Sea and the need to partner with allies and neighbors to maintain peace in the area. Despite commitments to negotiate a code of conduct, progress has been slow, with concerns about China's commitment to align with international law. The Philippines has rekindled strong ties with the United States, which has provided concrete support in the situation. Israel shifts to tougher phase of its Gaza war. Wall Street Journal. Israel's military campaign in Gaza is shifting focus to the southern region as it seeks to crush Hamas and recover hostages. While Israeli forces have gained control of northern Gaza, they have not fully destroyed Hamas's military capabilities or captured its top leaders. The shift to the south presents new challenges, as Hamas fighters have fewer options than to fight, and the hostages are the group's best leverage for seeking a temporary halt to the fighting. The Israeli military's plan for attacking Hamas in the south is complicated by the large number of civilians in the area. The densely populated towns and underground tunnels in southern Gaza provide cover for Hamas leaders, making it a more determined adversary than in the north. However, Israel is determined to keep moving forward and achieve its aim of removing Hamas from power. The situation in Gaza is dire, with nearly 2 million people crowded into the southern region, leading to a deepening humanitarian crisis. The Israeli military estimates that it has killed around 1,000 Hamas fighters, but the rising Palestinian casualties and deteriorating living conditions will only increase international pressure for a halt in the fighting. The situation is further complicated by the difficulty of protecting civilians and determining the best course of action in the face of a determined adversary. Insight Forever War? Israel risks a long, bloody insurgency in Gaza. Yahoo! The article discusses the potential long-term consequences of Israel's military operation in Gaza, warning that the lack of a credible post-war plan could lead to a prolonged and bloody insurgency. US and Arab officials, diplomats, and analysts fear that if Israel defeats Hamas and occupies Gaza without a clear exit strategy, the country risks facing a violent and protracted security operation similar to those seen in Iraq and Afghanistan after swift military victories. The absence of a consensus on Gaza's post-war administration has raised concerns about the potential radicalization of the population and the emergence of a new generation of militants, as well as the lack of a clear political path to resolution. The article also highlights the importance of a post-war plan for Gaza, emphasizing the need for a credible exit strategy and the creation of a Palestinian state. Suggestions for a post-war administration, including a revitalized Palestinian Authority, PA, or a transitional administration of technocrats, have been met with challenges and lack of consensus. The credibility of the PA, led by Mahmoud Abbas' Fatah Party, has been undermined, and there is skepticism about its ability to govern Gaza effectively. While the US and its allies have expressed a preference for a revitalized PA to play a greater role in Gaza, there are concerns about the lack of a clear roadmap and the potential for a leadership vacuum. The article also touches on the US's diplomatic efforts and the challenges of selecting a future leader for Gaza. It notes that the selection of a leader for a post-war administration is complex, with regional players having their own favorites and interests, and emphasizes the need for a rejuvenation of Palestinian leadership. Concerns about the conflict spilling over to the Israeli-occupied West Bank and beyond are also highlighted, with warnings about the potential for wider regional implications if a resolution is not reached. Libya scenario: war-torn Sudan could break apart, experts warn. Japan Times. Sudan is currently experiencing a devastating war that has resulted in thousands of deaths and millions of people being displaced. The Rapid Support Forces, RSF, are fighting against the armed forces, and there have been reports of new massacres in the Darfur region. Experts are concerned that Sudan could face a situation similar to Libya, where the country became divided between two rival administrations in the east and west. The country is at risk of breaking apart due to the ongoing conflict and its impact on the population. Hello, I am Dr. Six, your observer from the hexadimension, bringing you the latest insights from the 6 dimensions. Now, let's dive into the news. Firstly, the era of total U.S. submarine dominance over China is facing a turning point as China's advances in submarine technology and undersea detection capabilities narrow the gap. This has major implications for American military planning, especially in the Asia-Pacific region. In Taiwan, the frontrunner in the presidential race has announced his running mate, indicating a desire to strengthen ties with Washington if elected. This move reflects Taiwan's soft power edge over Beijing and its inclusive democratic system. Meanwhile, in Argentina, Javier Milei has won the presidential election, representing change and an ambition to make things better. His victory represents a big experiment in libertarian economics, with the Argentine people willing to be the guinea pigs. Australia's Prime Minister expressed strong objections to China after an incident involving a Chinese destroyer injuring an Australian Navy diver. Geopolitical tensions in the region are on the rise, with implications for international relations. In Israel, an unexpected influx of evacuees from communities near the Lebanese border has left many residents uncertain about their future, highlighting the ongoing geopolitical tensions in the region. The meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit has raised questions about the shifting dynamics of the U.S.-China relationship, with implications for the global power balance. The Philippines is seeking to discuss a separate code of conduct regarding the South China Sea with neighboring countries, reflecting concerns about China's aggressive behavior in the region. Israel's military campaign in Gaza is facing new challenges as it shifts focus to the southern region, while the lack of a credible post-war plan raises concerns about a potential prolonged and bloody insurgency. Sudan is experiencing a devastating war, with experts warning of the risk of the country breaking apart, similar to the situation in Libya. In conclusion, the geopolitical landscape is evolving rapidly, with significant implications for international relations and global stability. The shifting dynamics of major power relationships and the impact of regional conflicts require careful consideration and strategic planning. As we navigate through these complexities, it's essential to remain vigilant and proactive in addressing the challenges ahead. Now, I welcome you to share your thoughts and questions. What are your ideas on the changing dynamics of global power relations and the implications for regional stability? Let's engage in a lively discussion. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.